January 1st, 2007, nearly 200 Imperial Stormtroopers marched down Colorado Boulevard in the Pasadena Rose Parade. But these aren't villains. They're volunteers raising money for charity. The soldiers designed to evoke German Stormtroopers have transformed into beloved cultural icons. George Lucas himself stands with them saying, "I never go anywhere without my army." How did the faceless foot soldiers of an evil empire become goodwill ambassadors? These rushed creations, sculpted in weeks, vacuum-formed in plastic, and assembled with hooks and elastics, now represent the public face of Star Wars. For many fans, the white armor no longer symbolizes oppression, but opportunity. The idea of the Stormtrooper is that they're anonymous, explains 501st Legion founder Albin Johnson. Anyone could be behind that mask. In 1973, 29-year-old George Lucas began creating a space adventure inspired by Flash Gordon. 2 years later, his summary described stormtroopers wearing ominous armored spacesuits with fascist white armored suits, contrasting Darth Vader's black robes. Fox executives couldn't visualize it. Lucas needed proof. Enter Ralph McQuarrie, an artist who designed Boeing aircraft and Apollo space graphics. Lucas instructed him, "Don't worry about how things will get done. Just paint them as I'd like them to be." McQuarrie's paintings transformed Fox's confusion into confidence. The Stormtrooper design evolved from these sessions. Lucas wanted troops like American soldiers in Vietnam, carrying equipment like German soldiers in World War II. The name Stormtroopers deliberately echoed German forces. McQuarrie recalled, "It was supposed to be a tooled army that was very efficient, in a sense like the German army." Money forced production to England. The entire wardrobe budget, £90,000, $220,000. Stormtrooper allocation, £40,000, $93,000. For costume designer, Lucas bypassed theatrical designers and hired John Mallow, an expert on military uniforms. Lucas explained, "I wanted somebody that really knew armor, somebody more into military hardware." The deadline loomed. March 22, 1976, first day of Tunisia filming. Production needed 50 Stormtrooper suits. The clock was ticking. January 1976, 23-year-old sculptor Brian Muir enters Elstree Studios. His assignment, transform McQuarrie's paintings into physical Stormtrooper armor. No pressure, just 50 suits needed before March 22nd. Muir begins with a plaster cast of actor Dennis Plenty. Using gray clay, he sculpts directly onto this life-sized figure. First the chest piece, then arms, torso, legs, and finally the back. Each piece requires George Lucas's personal approval before proceeding. The back posed a problem. McQuarrie's paintings showed no rear view. Working with art director John Barry, Muir improvises, decorating the back with a cog and 2 oblong pieces of wood from the props department. Meanwhile, Liz Moore, who had sculpted the Star Child for Kubrick's 2001, creates the helmet in a makeshift workshop in Holland while visiting her boyfriend. She delivers the finished clay model to England in February. Lucas and Barry approve it, but request ear caps to cover the seams. The art department transforms these clay sculptures into armor through vacuum forming. White ABS plastic for the armor, khaki-colored HDPE for most helmets, with thick latex house paint making them white. 6 special white ABS helmets for close-ups. When the pieces arrive at the costume department, wardrobe assistant Colin Wilson recalls, "It was like an Airfix model kit. We had to work out what they were by putting them on our own bodies." The solution? Black leotards underneath, with armor attached using metal brackets, elastics, and hooks. The gap between components allows fitting actors from 5 feet 10 inches to 6 feet. With just days before filming, John Mallow receives Lucas's request for combat order Stormtroopers. His solution? A Boy Scout backpack rack, plastic seed boxes, and plastic drain pipe, all sprayed black. Lucas's response? "That's great." March 23, 1976, Tunisia. 6 stormtroopers search a desert for evidence of droids, the first ever filmed sequence featuring the iconic armor. These first sand troopers aren't Hollywood extras, but local Tunisian men, each paid $6.50 for a day's work in plastic shells under the scorching sun. The stormtroopers' mounts, lizard-like dewbacks, were created by Fred Pearl, who attached custom-sculpted heads and tails to a prop rhinoceros body. But on location, the mechanical puppet malfunctioned. The dewback was relegated to background shots only. On April 2nd, filming moves to Djerba, transformed by production designer John Barry into the Mos Eisley spaceport. Here, actor Anthony Forrest abandons his cut role as Luke's friend Fixer to don Stormtrooper armor instead. His moment, playing the trooper subjected to Obi-Wan's mind trick, makes him one of the most memorable stormtroopers in Star Wars. Forrest recalls, "It was tipping 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and while walking, I'm being dressed head to toe in plastic. The sunburn I got the previous day is being sandpapered by the interior of the costume, pinching my skin at the elbows and behind the knees at every movement." Director Lucas wasn't satisfied with the weathering. He grabbed handfuls of sandy earth, liberally giving the front of the costume the finishing touches. Inside the helmet, Forrest couldn't see a damn thing and became a bobblehead. The Tunisia filmed Sand Troopers differed from later Stormtroopers filmed in England. Sand Troopers featured curved helmet cheeks, different paint details, unique knee plates, German MP-40 pouches, and bulky backpacks. These differences, originally due to production timeline, aligned with McQuarrie's concept of varying designs for different ranks. These subtle variations made the hastily created costumes appear deliberately designed as specialized troops, transforming production necessity into universe-expanding world-building. January 1st, 2007, 30 years after Star Wars debuted, 200 Imperial Stormtroopers march in the 118th Pasadena Rose Parade. These aren't actors, but volunteers from the 501st Legion, an international organization of fans wearing movie-quality costumes for charity. The following year, George Lucas appears at a theater convention with his army of troopers beside him. The 501st Legion's philanthropic work transformed these fascist-inspired villains into goodwill ambassadors. The faceless soldiers of an evil empire now represent the caring face of Star Wars fandom. The idea of the Stormtrooper is that they're anonymous, explains 501st Legion founder Albin Johnson. Anyone could be behind that mask. In some regards, without all the evil Empire stuff, they could be soldiers we know today, dedicated to service, strong, brave. This transformation continues on screen in Star Wars. The Force awakens with Finn, a Stormtrooper who defects from the First Order to join the Resistance. Actor John Boyega, who portrays Finn, explains, "Stormtroopers, from the history of the franchise and in comics, all look the same, wear the same armor and helmets. They do the same thing and follow orders. They are just one of many, and here's a character who questions that." Boyega understood Finn's uniqueness as the first Stormtrooper we would get to know as an individual. His character breaks the mold of Imperial conformity, showing the human beneath the helmet. Unlike the smooth Han Solo, Finn appears sweaty, out of breath, and confused much of the time. It makes him real and relatable. The Stormtrooper has evolved from symbol of oppression to canvas for imagination. For all the Star Wars movies, toys, and games that ever presented Stormtroopers as villains, nothing has ever stopped a Star Wars fan from picking up a Stormtrooper action figure and thinking, maybe this trooper is a rebel spy or Luke Skywalker in disguise. The Stormtrooper has become the everyman of the Star Wars galaxy, no longer just a villain, but a blank slate of possibility. The hurried creation of 1976 endures as one of cinema's most recognizable and reimagined designs.
You're all cannon fodder. None of you will probably make it, but we will remember you.